So anyway, this is a very, very, very well-charged vat of 2-hour abaca, which we also put some pozo in. And this will be nice for dipping. It's not going to be real high shrinkage, but it will be nice for dipping these wire forms in. And we did get this, material. We just got one roll of it, so everybody has to make sure, they only had one roll of it. So everybody has to make sure that when they want to take some of this to try it as an example, be mindful that everybody, let's not make something giant out of this. Let's make sure that everybody gets a chance to have a little bit of this. And as you can see, this tiny little flat piece that I cut off, I was able to bend and twist and manipulate into a very wonderful organic shape. I love this stuff. The one thing that you need to be mindful of is that the materials will conform to this grid pattern, this diamond-shaped pattern. So aesthetically, that has to be part of your vision. You can't look at it and say, oh yeah, she used rain gutter for that, how cool. You know, it's got to be part of what you're, it's got to work with what you're trying to say. So it's kind of tricky. And one way to get around that a little bit, and I often will do this in a couple of stages. I don't necessarily expect this is going to be completely coated the first time I dip it through. If I dip it through right away, without letting it drain and dry a little bit, everything that I initially, as Laura will have been able to attest to with her piece, everything I initially dipped in here and collected will come off and go back into the vat again. So it's like, we giveth and we taketh away. The vat, of course, we giveth and we taketh away. So in order to counteract those natural forces, the fibers really want to go back to they want to go back to their buddies and swim. So, okay, let's move on.
Monday morning.
You know what? I don't know how this is all happening. I didn't get a lot of sleep last night because Romeo is pining for Fiona and Fiona is pining for Romeo. That's kind of the sound. Oh yeah, the issues are ongoing. Oh God, yes. And they're ongoing. So there's some strange things in my subconscious right now. And they're not staying subconscious, are they? Anyway, sometimes I let this dry out a little before I go back for another dip. And sometimes I just take what's with the first dip and let it almost dry and then pull a sheet and add to the outside. So I'm going to go for the inside first. I'm hoping, now I had a few rough edges, so I took a sheet. I borrowed, or one way borrow, some of a piece of flax that Yuka had made yesterday to try and cover my rough edges a little bit. I haven't done that before, so we'll see if it stays on or not. There's no formation aid in here or anything. We're just going in. I'm going to do it kind of gently. Swirl it around a little. Lift it. Now, any areas that are really further down in an indented area are going to collect a bigger pocket of pulp. Now, even with what I'm doing now, this kind of gentle drip, 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 I'm liable to be washing some of the pulp away. So you kind of got to develop your own method of doing this. You just do it with a little finesse and see what works for you. I would definitely say gentle is the way to go. Just gentle and easy. And then this is just going to have to dry some. That arm in the other room is wonderful.
No.
I didn't peek in the other room today. I guess I'm gonna have to go in there and see what else is going on. Nor did I really do any carving so that I could give you much of a demo in that. But that's another one that just, well, you know, that's pull sheets and wrap, kind of like you've been doing already. And I'll get there. So some of it's coming through, as you can see. And really I'm doing the inside, but then later on I'll deal with the outside. And I need to let this dry for a period of time. Just see how it wants to come off.
And so, fully dry before you dip it again, or?
I may not let it fully dry, but I'm certainly going to let it set up a lot. Almost fully dry, maybe. I don't know that we ever get almost fully dry here. I might throw in a little bit of extra at some point. So what I will do, just over it on itself.
That's right.
Yeah. And then what I'm just going to do is put this up here. And hopefully it won't be in anybody's way. I'm probably going to have to put it out in the sun a little bit when we have sun. All right, so the other thing is we need to check these 3 vats, which I have not had time to do today. This one definitely the water level is pretty far down on, and it needs more fiber. We have plenty of fiber to get us through today, and we'll evaluate at the end of today how we need to move forward with that. Suzanne had mentioned perhaps wanting to try on our Wednesday, our last wet day, perhaps wanting to try to make some more flat sheets. So we had sequestered some fiber away for that to happen, and I want to show you how to lightly sponge press and then board dry, or maybe run the press, but not take all the water out and board dry so that things can board. That's another way of drying paper that you'll have a slightly different quality, but it's a way of drying paper if you don't have a big heavy-duty press or a drying box. It'll give you a slightly different quality of paper. I want you to try that so that you know the results that you get. So for that, the corn will need to be rinsed as well. And also, Suzanne had mentioned that she wanted to try and make some postcards. How to get a thick enough sheet to be substantial enough. It might have to be handed to the postal clerk and hand stamped. It might not make it through the machine. Most people who do like mail art will hand the paper and have it hand stamped rather than taking the chance that any decoly, ruffly edges will catch up in the machinery, get mangled, and come back to you 6 months later in a little plastic sleeve. And so, but indeed, if you put a higher concentration of pulp to water in the vat, when you do your one single pull, it will come out thicker on the mold, kind of like cover weight paper. And so that's, now the other suggestion that we had talked about was measuring the size of the mold and then getting a piece of foam core board from the school supply store, I imagine, unless you happen to bring any with you. But, okay, come back to that this one. Cut yourself a couple of apertures in the foam core. The foam core should be the exact outer dimension of the surface of the mold. And then inner dimension, you should leave like at least 3/4 of an inch bar down the center of, without cutting. You're going to cut yourself out 2 apertures for postcard size. You didn't do one, right?
No, not yet.
Okay.
I plan to today.
Okay.